Well, it wasn't exactly the way we drew it up. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Defo on 5 here on 5 Reasons Sports Network. Jeff DeForest, Stan 1. Mike Lubie Lubitz. We're kind of peeling ourselves off the mat once again, are we not, Mike Lubie Lubitz? But it's interesting how these things go in the postseason. And I think I was guilty of a little of it. I didn't see the Celtics coming together in the second half of that game last night and coming back. And I don't know. Do we have a series now, Mike Lubie Lubitz? Are you starting to get a little paranoid, just a little bit nervous, a little unglued, because you know how the scenario goes, and people often talk about it. You get down 3-0 in a playoff series, and then you're forced into the cliched position of, well, we're going to take it one game at a time. We can't win 4 games tonight, but we can win one. And after a half of basketball, it didn't look like that was going to be the case. The Celtics weren't playing badly, but they were still down 6. And there was little reason to anticipate that the Heat wouldn't find a way to put the Celtics out of their misery, send them packing into the postseason, have them questioning whether Missoula should be their coach, wondering whether Jaylen Brown was going to come back, asking themselves how is it that they have 5 of the pastiest white stiffs on their bench in behind their top 6 or 7 players. And that would have been it. On to see if you can beat the Denver Nuggets. And instead, wow, I mean, an ugly third quarter for the Miami Heat last night. They reverted back to being the Heat of the regular season. The Heat that were losing to Orlando. The Heat that were losing to Charlotte without LaMelo Ball. The Heat that were losing to San Antonio. All of a sudden, inexplicably, they turn into a pumpkin. They get outscored in the third period, 38-23, then 28-20 in the fourth quarter. This in spite of the fact that Jimmy Butler, the drifting Jimmy Butler, that Lubie really, I mean, you talk about laced with anxiety. That's Lubie during the first half of this game with Jimmy Butler just kind of wandering around out there looking like he's almost a non-participant. I think he had like 9 points into the third quarter. And he wakes up. He's playing sensational. He's making everything, but nobody else can hit a shot. And we have broken this series down, I think, to its finest point, Lubie. He who maketh shots winneth game. And that's the way it's been. The Heat were making shots in the first 3 games, and the Celtics couldn't throw a brick into the ocean off the pier. They were throwing a lot of bricks, but none of them hit the ocean. And then all of a sudden, they wake up and shoot the ball well. The team was 18 of 45 on threes. Miami, 8 of 32. There's your differential. And all of a sudden, Boston, 116, Heat 99. Big second half of the Celtics. They win it on the road. They stave off elimination. And the question to you, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and the Heat Nation that is plugged in and just all over 5 Reasons Sports Network, do we now have a series? Do we have a series? How are you, by the way, Lubie? You all right?
I'm just frustrated. On many ends. Look, it's a weird thing. Heat fans and the national media are doing. Game 3, when you're up 2-0, is not a must win, but people called it a must win. That was fucking ludicrous.
Yes.
They're up.
Besides being, incorrect.
Up 3-1.
Yeah.
I am frustrated. I'm annoyed by that game. It's not because I'm a wall dancer. No, I know this team. This team for the last 4 years has done that exact game. Now, this series, they hadn't done it. They had a chance to go up 2-0. They did. They had a chance to go up 3-0. They did. So the rest of the world was like, oh, this is a new Heat. Skolnick yesterday talking about how on our show from 7 to 9 saying, you're just starting to expect them to win. No, I was not. I haven't forgotten.
I was expecting them to win last night. I really was. Especially at halftime. I thought, wow, Celtics not really that bad. And yet they're down 6, and it was even larger, the margin during the second quarter. Heat were up 9-1 in the third quarter in that game. Didn't they open up and, get on top by 9?
Yes.
Looked like it was going to be a routine bludgeoning and a sweeperoo. We would have had an unprecedented situation where both of the conference finals, East and West, since whatever format was instituted in the 70s, this current format, would have both lost in a sweep. That's never happened before. And it hasn't happened yet now. To go another year with that. But
I, in the back of my mind, always knew this team still existed somewhere. And you saw the signs. Jimmy Butler, and it's great that he's unselfish. And it's great that he likes letting the other guys get involved.
Right.
And Spo's the same way, and that's wonderful. They're not the leaders of the goddamn team. And when they get out to that great of a run, it's like, okay, now it's your turn. And the problem is, Butler's like, no, let them have their shine. It's like, no, eventually they're going to go cold. They're fucking role players. That's their job, is to assist you. When Butler had 9 and Bam had 10 at half, I was sick to my stomach. I
Oh
was like,
yeah,
this
all right.
is not good. I'm like, this, and you saw it, like they were starting to take really stupid shots. They were still sort of going in. Okay, it's like, all right, you can't do that in the second half.
Very, very sloppy turnovers in the second
It was
half. I mean, it
weird.
got really ugly.
It was weird, and it was like, there they are, there they are. You knew they were there, and there they are. And they, if you notice, and everyone's gonna again frame it from the Celtics perspective. No, this series to me is all about the Heat. The Celtics made the shots here; they were fucking wide open. Like, how many threes have they shot in the other games? Remember, the key number is 40, right? They were shooting like 25 to 28, and it's not because they weren't making bullshit, because the 3-point shooting teams don't give a damn if they're making them. They jack them up. It was because the Heat were chasing them off the three. They kept saying that term. The Heat were getting out there, making sure they weren't getting open threes. Last night was another disaster. Their defense, Bam was horrendous on both ends. Bam is their anchor, and he was fucking lost last night. It was I don't want to become Pesci. It was a bleep fest. Okay, it was a bleep. It was a.
You do curse more when your team loses. I've noticed that. Even if they win by a narrow margin, exponentially, the number of 4-letter words used in your dissection of the game is ratcheted up significantly. There's no doubt.
It was, and I was like, okay, Spo, take a timeout. Spo, take a timeout. That was Spo's first game where I was like, oh, there's a Spo I know. It was like, come on, man.
It was a collapse, though. I mean, it really was. Those turnovers in the paint were
dumb.
ugly. Yeah.
My problem was, once your 9-point lead became a 2-point lead, why don't you call a timeout there? Spo was really late on the trigger last night, and he was like, we're just going to let him ride it out. It's like, no, you haven't done that the entire playoffs. Why are you doing that now? Like, he waited for them to get down 7. I'm like, really? You waited for a 16-0 run to go, all right, I think we need a timeout. I was like, come on, Spo. Like, what do you...
Yeah, that was ugly. I don't know that he could have done much to. I guess he could have tried to at least put a tourniquet on the bleeding by calling a couple of timeouts in there. You don't want a team to score 19 straight points on you in an elimination game. It's interesting too, because now the narrative is okay. Series is on. Celtics. I don't know. I mean, they were supposedly so discombobulated. Missoula had referenced that there was discord in the locker room. They seemed disinterested in game number 3, which smacked of being impossible, where you have a team that's just lost 2 games, albeit close ones. They weren't decided until the late going, the 2 games that they lost at the TD Garden. But they come down here and get shellacked in a game where they look like they didn't even show up. And you're thinking, all right, what are the chances they're going to get it together in game 4? But such ugliness. I mean, we talk about it, and it's funny. You could analyze this thing for hours on end. You could have Greeny and Jalen Rose and all of these people talking about it, schlubbering on, and Shaq and Kenny Smith and Barkley, and talking as if every single thing that happened was so compelling it was going to change the course of the human condition. But the bottom line is, if you don't make shots, you're not going to win the game. And your role players there, Lubie, just fell apart in this one. As you look at the 3-point shooting totals, Vincent, who was spectacular the night before or the last game, goes 1 for 4 from 3. Strus 1 for 5 from 3. Robinson 0 for 4 from 3. Lowry 1 for 5 from 3. And if you've fallen behind in a game and you're going to hoist up bombs from the Coke machine to try and get back in it, and you're going to miss them, guess what? You're going to end up losing. And a lot of people did see this. Where you have a team that's down 3-0 and they win game 4 on the road. Now you go back and you're thinking it's almost a token game 5 in Boston. Can Boston lose the first 3 games of this series at home that they host? It seems unlikely, especially the way they got it together in the second half. And Tatum all of a sudden rose from the dead. He hadn't had a bucket, a single field goal in the fourth quarter of the first 3 games. Not one basket from your big star. He goes for 33, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, 14 of 22 from the field, 4 of 9 from 3. And that line alone is an indicator that maybe the dead have been awakened, my friend. I don't know if they win the series. I would still say that the Heat, obviously hold a huge upper hand here. They have 3 swings at it. They have won 2 in Boston. But this was a scenario you didn't want to see, right? I mean, if you had a chance to close it out, that's why you always have to go for the jugular in these series. Because all of a sudden, you're facing a distinct possibility of coming back here to Miami in 4 nights and having to close it out in a game six like they did against the Knicks, with a team that may be gathering some momentum after being absolutely comatose through the first 3 games of the series and big portions of them. So, very interesting development, was it not?
Yeah. Look, you don't want to get to a game six because now everyone's the Celtics were down 0-3. A team has never won down 0-3, and the Celtics still had like a 40% chance of winning the series. So, like, the national media's already been against them. They're just waiting for anything. So, yeah, you get to game six. Yeah.
National media now has Boston in 7.
Yes.
Unprecedented, 150-0 in that situation. They have them coming back and breaking that ice and finally getting the team that was down 0-3 off the schneid. I mean, that was it after the game. It was like, wow, how wonderful are these Celtics? Amazing.
I wouldn't go that far, but yes, a game six, it's going to be, the series is over. The Celtics have won. Like, that's how it's going to feel from everyone's perspective. The Celtics have won 2 in a row. Wow, they're the great team again. I'm not going to go there either. I think it's in the middle somewhere, and I don't know why the Heat do this. And people can say you're not talking about the game. The Celtics made shots, the Heat missed. Yeah, but if you watch the game, there was the Heat had 4 turnovers in a row in the third quarter. 4 in a row.
They were just like dribbling into traffic. It was crazy.
That's the Celtics great. The Celtics defense didn't become the goddamn Pistons of 2007 all of a sudden. Like, no, the Heat got lazy and sloppy.
He had a horrible second half.
It was bad. And I'm not hating on the Celtics. Look, the Celtics versus Sixers, it wasn't the Celtics playing amazing. The Sixers got slapped. The Celtics thrive off of this. They're waiting for you to get impatient, get undisciplined. And if you give them shots, you give them an opening, they're going to come. They have talent. It's what I literally said yesterday. And it's my fear about this team is they let off the gas. They've done it for 4 friggin' years. Like, Scoop said it 2 weeks ago. He's like, it's Butler and Spo. He said it before. He said it in the first round when the Heat had a chance to close it in game 5. And people thought, no, they're going to lose to the Bucks in Milwaukee. And they almost did. Scoop said, yeah, this is where the Heat sort of screw around. They haven't. They won game 5. They beat the Knicks in 6. They got up 3-0. But it's still there. Spo and Butler do this thing when they are at the mountaintop right before they're there. And look, closing a team out is not easy. They're not going to give it to you. And it was like the Heat were expecting, they'll just give it to us. It's like, no, they're not going to give it to you. You gotta win this game. And they didn't have it last night. It was weird.
Well, still holding up her hand, there'll be more to talk about, obviously, and we'll have time to develop more of these themes on the Defo show that gets underway 7:00 a.m. You can catch it any time on an endless loop there. Punch it up anytime. At 7 to 9, we run, and be a lot of fun today because there are many other things on the ticket to talk about. But the question of the day is, do we have a series, Lubie?
Sure.
Do we have a series? It's a bigger question than whether or not LeBron was serious about retiring, I believe.
I don't care about that question. He's not retiring.
Doesn't look like it, no. There's $100 million there on the table there. I didn't realize he also had an option for a year after where, the Lakers would be forced then to take an undrafted free agent and Bronny James off the USC freshman roster and bring him into the NBA to appease LeBron James. Maybe he'll make that a condition of his desire to return. I like Darvin Ham. He said he thought about retiring after the game. That was pretty good because a lot of people thought, I don't know, you couldn't possibly be down on Darvin Ham with the Lakers this year after they got to the conference finals. People were saying that the Lakers season was a failure. I thought it was kind of a wild success, no, to get as far as they did. Knocking off Memphis and then Golden State. Just ran into a really good team in Denver, which we're hoping the Heat run into. And see what they can do against the Denver Nuggets. But that's been postponed because of rain, right? It was raining threes from Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics last night in the second half at the Kezar Stadium arena there where the Heat are now playing their games. All right, we will see you tomorrow with another edition of Defo and 5. And hopefully you have happier things to talk about because we have a closeout series game coming tonight with the Florida Panthers trying to go up 4-0. And it looks like we're going to get our dream, Lubie, which would be Panthers versus Viva Las Vegas. When do I put in the application for our credentials? So we have to go to a road game. I think that's a must. I don't care what it costs us.
Yeah, that was rough last night. Wow.
They got hammered. I mean, the Stars were out of it right at the beginning. Peter DeBoer looked sick the entire game, the Dallas Stars coach. He really did. Did he not look like he had just been diagnosed with a terminal illness? And it was called, the Las Vegas Golden Knights and Jonathan Marchessault, the former Panther, who has been dynamite in the series so far. And I don't know. I mean, you would have to think that these Eastern teams were a little tougher than overall the teams in the West, but Las Vegas playing very well, goes up 3-0. So could be Cats in Las Vegas, and the Cats can put themselves in that position tonight. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Another edition of Defo on 5. Thanks so much for tuning in. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest, and we will catch you next time on 5 Reasons Sports Network.